Since recently quitting my job, I've been getting a ton of questions of people asking me, how am I funding my freedom during this year? How am I going to still be able to travel? How have I been able to quit my full-time job and pursue my own creative pursuits during this year? Well, in this video, I'm going to let you know exactly how I'm doing that. Welcome. My name is Sherry and welcome to Live Free with Sherry, where we talk about freedom as it relates to our finances, travel, and our mindset. On this channel, we talk about how we can free ourselves from any limitations that hold us back from living our truest, freest, and most autonomous life. So if you're new here and you like talking about freedom, or you feel like you want some more freedom in your life, this is the channel for you. Hit subscribe, join the community. We have videos coming out weekly and we are creating a community of freedom seekers. So if you have watched my videos previously, you would have learned that I recently quit my full-time, stable income teaching job in November of 2025. I was experiencing a lot of burnout due to the job. I felt like I had a lack of control in this role, and I knew that I had a lot of other creative pursuits that I was putting on the back burner in order to be able to prioritize that job. I also knew that I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to also have more time to myself. I wanted more time for fitness and for my nutrition, because those were also two parts of my life that were pushed to the back burner. After 3 years of working at this job, I ended up putting in my resignation and decided to recreate my relationship with work in order to put freedom at the forefront of my life. So I'm dedicating this year to find ways to incorporate and redesign my life in a way that feels free and autonomous, and where I feel like I have a sense of control. So I did mention before that I have a freedom fund. So this freedom fund has been something that I've been working on developing for the last 2 to 3 years while I was employed at my former full-time job. In addition to the freedom fund, I want to put out a disclaimer that I have been investing for the last 12 years. So from the age of about 20 years old, I have been putting aside a certain amount of money per month, been automating my investing process. However, I started to really take the freedom fund more seriously in the last 2 to 3 years. So the last job that I worked, it paid very well. So fortunately, I was able to save about 50 to 40% of my paycheck each and every month, which was honestly a blessing. And by doing that, I was putting a portion of that money into my freedom fund and a portion of that money into my investment account. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about each account and how it's going to support me as I embark on my freedom era. All right, so I'm going to start with my freedom fund. From the time that I quit my job in November of 2025, I had about $35,000 Canadian put to the side to help me fund my freedom or my time off for the next year. So like I said before, this money was acquired through saving up in the last 2 to 3 years while I was employed at my full-time job. The purpose of this freedom fund is to pretty much act like a safety net while I am off of full-time work for the next year. During this year, I want to embark on more flexible work options. So work options that allow me the freedom to decide my own schedule is what I'm looking for. So the reason why I have my freedom fund is in the event that there are days that I don't want to work, or I choose to work at home on my business instead, that I feel like I'm not strapped for cash. So the purpose of my freedom fund is a safety net. With that being said, I don't want to say that I'm going to be completely leaning on my freedom fund. My freedom fund isn't here to allow me to live scot-free for the entire year. The freedom fund is supposed to be a safety net. It's supposed to be able to catch me in the event of rough times during the year, or when money is low, or if my business is not picking up as fast as I want it to be. So the way that I intend to make my freedom fund last is by cutting down on the amount of spending that I'm doing. So while I'm in my freedom era, I'm not going to be out here spending money like crazy. I'm not going to be going on crazy dinner dates. I'm really going to be dedicating that money intentionally for things that allow and push forward my freedom. I do intend to do the best I can to preserve my freedom fund for things that actually serve my freedom. For example, traveling and investing back into my business. My freedom fund is also dedicated for those fixed expenses such as my insurance, my phone bill, my rent as well. I want to make sure that those are always covered. Anything extra is a variable expense, and I figure that I can cut those things out in order to save money or to cut back on how much of my freedom fund is being used each month. So I want to talk about income during this time. So I want to emphasize that I am not anti-work because I am dedicated to my freedom, and although I did quit my job, I want to note that I am not against work. I'm just against work when I feel that it takes away from the freedom that I need, from the amount of freedom that I need, I should say. I want to feel autonomous. I want to feel like I have control over my schedule. I want to feel that I have the ability to set my own hours or decide the way that I work. And in my previous work environment, I just didn't feel that. So that is why I ended up leaving. Am I completely against work? No. Will I be in and out of the workforce in the next 40 years? Of course I will, but I'm intending to redesign my relationship with work so that I don't feel like I need to be there 40 hours a week from 8 to 4 each and every week. If I want to take a random vacation in March, I'm able to do that. If I want to take, 3 months off to travel Southeast Asia, I want to be able to do that. So when I talk about freedom, I'm more so talking about redesigning and resetting your life in a way that allows and welcomes change and flexibility and mobility and autonomy and choice. So with that being said, for my income, I have a few different income sources that I'm going to jump between during my freedom era. So one source that I have right now is online tutoring. So I have been an online tutor for the last 5 years now. And what I've noticed is that I haven't actually got to grow my business past what it's been because I was never really able to have the time to invest in getting more clients, keeping more clients, or setting up and aligning my schedule in a way that I could have more than 5 to 6 clients at a time. So I have been, in the last 5 years, I've been in a place where I have managed just 3 to 5 clients at a time alongside having my full-time job. Now that I don't have a full-time job, my intention is to expand from 3 to 5 clients to more like 10 to 20 clients. And I figure that by building my online tutoring business, this aligns with my freedom journey because online teaching is flexible in that you don't have to be in one space. You are location flexible. You have that location freedom to pick up your computer and move to Mexico and still have a sense of income while living in Mexico. Or you have that freedom to travel across the world while teaching. So my intention is to grow my business as an online teacher so that I can fall more into that freedom that I'm looking for. So for online teaching, currently I'm at the space of making between $700 and $1,000 per month. I was making this even when I was employed full-time, but I do have the goal of making more eventually when I'm able to recruit more clients. My second income source is supply teaching. So recently I have got a job as a supply teacher. And while I am still against the whole 9 to 5, 40-hour work week for the entire 40 years of your working life, I am not against work. So this is why I have opted to do supply teaching because it still offers a stable income, but it gives you the control and the power to decide when you want to work. So right now I am in the space of taking about 2 to max 3 shifts per week in order to serve as an additional safety net while I'm in my freedom era. The really, really great thing about supply teaching is that you can accept and deny shifts whenever you please. You can block out weeks out of your schedule whenever you please. So if I do intend to travel for an extended period, I'm able to do that while supply teaching. I'm actually only required to do 30 supply teaching full days for the entire school year. So that works and aligns with my freedom era because I feel like I have a sense of control to be able to push my business forward and pursue the things that actually make me feel free and happy and fulfilled, like traveling, etc. As a supply teacher, I intend to take home, so after taxes, fees, union fees, all of that is taken out, I intend to take home roughly $1,800 Canadian per month as my safety net from supply teaching. However, this can be more or less. Let's say I decide to work more than 10 days or 8 days for the month, then it could be more. Let's say I decide to travel Southeast Asia for 2 to 3 months, then it's going to be less, right? But again, it's like I have the safety net of the Freedom Fund, and this is just additional money so that I'm not completely leaning on my Freedom Fund. Also, I want to note that supply teaching really only occurs for about 9 months of the year. So for 2 months of the year in Canada, there's summer break. And when you add up all the professional development days, the March break, all the long weekends and stuff, that equals up to another month of no work for supply teachers. So about 3 months of the year will entail of no work availability. But for 9 months of the year, I'm able to work in a part-time basis as needed. So between my online tutoring at this current moment and my supply teaching goal, that should bring in $2,500 to $2,700, give or take. It can again be lower than that, or it can be higher than that, depending on the amount of shifts that I feel like working or the amount of tutoring classes that I complete. Also, I want to mention that in the earlier part of the year, I'm going to be leaning more on my Freedom Fund because of the fact that that is what I have access to right now. As the supply teaching shifts start to pick up, I'm going to be moving between all of these different incomes. So ideally, I would be using the supply teaching income first, and then taking the business income and investing that back into my business, and then the Freedom Fund as a safety net if I need it. Also, out of this income between supply teaching and online teaching, I do still want to dedicate 10% of that income to investing. So like I said before, I've been investing for the last 12 years. I still believe in investing, and I still believe the power of compound interest. Maybe I'm not going to be investing at the magnitude that I was investing while I was employed full-time at my previous high-paying job, but I still want to invest at least 10% of my income while I'm in my freedom era. I also want to touch on some other income sources that I have. So these are investment related income sources. These relate to cash back that I receive from credit cards. And this income I'm also going to be putting into my investment account since my ability to invest is kind of limited at this moment. I'm going to be using any cash back that I receive, any interest that I receive, any dividends that I receive, and putting that right back into my investment account. So I want to highlight those things. So currently I have a 2% cash back credit card with Wealthsimple. I'll put the link down in the bio if you're interested in signing up. But I really like this credit card because it offers 2% cash back. So I know that my spending is usually between like $2,000 to $3,000 per month. So if I'm getting cash back, that would bring me anywhere between $40 to $60 per month received. And I usually put that directly into my investment account. So that serves as another income that I'm not actually touching stretching during my freedom era, but it's great because I can dedicate it to investing. Secondly, I do have this promotion through Wealthsimple where they had a 2% cashback reward. So basically, if you were able to transfer a certain amount of money from another bank into Wealthsimple, like they gave you this 2% reward that would come out that would be deposited into your account monthly. So that is also put into my investment account as well. And the total of that is $29.39 per month. I also receive a dividend income. So I invest in a variety of ETFs and stocks that pay dividends. Currently, my dividends are being reinvested through the DRIP program, Dividend Reinvestment Program, I believe it's called. But essentially, when you receive these payouts from the companies that you invest in, they give you a little portion of the profits and you can do with it as you please. Some people choose to use their dividends. I'm going to be reinvesting my dividends. So I've recently calculated how much dividends I've made in the last year, and we'll use that as a reference point. So in the last 12 months, I have received $1,329 in dividends from the companies that I invest in. And that would equal to about $110 received into my accounts. But again, I mentioned that that money is currently being reinvested into my investment portfolio. So it's not going to be taken out. It's just going to serve as another form of income that can serve my long-term goals as an investor. And finally, I do have a high interest USD account. So that account receives anywhere from $35 to $40 USD in the last 12 months. The amount that it's been receiving has changed because the interest rate that I've been receiving has been dropping due to declining interest rates in Canada. But on average, I usually receive 35 to 40 US dollars into that account per month. So that would equal up to, let's say, 45 to 50 Canadian dollars average per month. So across the year, that would be about $600. And that money is also being deposited into my investment account. So I calculated all of that between my credit card cashback rewards, my rewards match that I received for transferring money into Wealthsimple, my dividend income, and my high interest US dollar account. All of those income sources, they equal up to about $229 to $249 per month that will be contributed to my investment portfolio. So I hope this was helpful, guys. I try to be as clear as I can with the numbers that I have for where I'm going to be making money or receiving income during my freedom era. Again, I want to emphasize that I am not anti-work. I actually do enjoy working. I just prefer working in a system that prioritizes my freedom and allows me to have the flexibility and the control to set my schedule and to travel. So that is what my focus is this year, trying to find ways to create consistent income while traveling the world, investing in my body, my health, my mind, and my wellness. If that was helpful for you, please click like and subscribe if you enjoy content about living your truest, freest, and most autonomous life. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Peace.